Hi guys, my name is Kimberly Dawn and I am a class 1 flight instructor up here in Canada, and you are either a flight training student or a flight instructor, or one of those two people and you need to see this video. So I'm going to be covering how to teach trimming an aircraft in the minimum time possible so you don't have to review, and also to make sure all of the other exercises that trimming affects won't be upset by a lack of trimming knowledge. Now, my forte, my speciality is taking the seemingly difficult concepts in teaching flight training and boiling it down to the easiest steps possible so that you save time, save money, and it's just a heck of a lot more fun. So let's get started. Teaching trimming. Now, trimming an aircraft, as they call it, the poor man's autopilot, and I'm on vacation, I'm visiting family, so I'm not in my own office, I don't have my own tools, but I knew that you guys probably wanted this video. But teaching trimming an aircraft is one of those exercises and techniques that often gets either completely dismissed after lesson 2, the straight and level lesson, or many junior instructors don't know how to verbalize it or don't know how to talk about it properly. So I've boiled everything down in trimming an aircraft or teaching to trim an aircraft into 4 easy steps. If you are a student watching this video, you can maybe send it to your instructor if you want to, or just take as much as you can out of it, because in some of it I do talk to the instructor. Now, trimming will affect how stabilized your approaches are and how easy it is to learn how to land. Trimming will affect your understanding of energy management of the airplane altogether. Trimming will affect all of your descents, all of your climbs. Trimming will affect situational awareness, because as you spend so much time manhandling that airplane back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, then you spend less brain power on the tasks that you need to be spending on, which is understanding what's happening around you and thinking ahead of the airplane. So here's the 4-step easy process. Number 1, I wrote it down because, like I said, I don't have any of my office things. Number 1, oh, it's backwards. Oh no. Okay, number 1, normal cruise attitude, NCA, and then I put describe. So if you and your student you're with your instructor, you're in the airplane, and sidebar, this helps if you have problems or you've learned some bad habits in trimming. So come back to the beginning, start all over again. This is going to help with that as well. So step number 1, normal cruise attitude. The student, hopefully, which they understand what normal cruise attitude looks like outside. Now, this is the definition of the horizon, which is that imaginary line where the sky meets the ground. And then, of course, the distance between the horizon and the curved panel in front of you. Some students sit so high that they can see the metal of the cowling of the nose. Some students sit so low that all they can see is the plastic paneling. Now, here's where most instructors go wrong on this one. They don't ask the student what they can see. Let's pretend that it is a brand new student and you have a new student and you need to teach trimming, and you need to teach it well so that other things don't go to pot later. So an instructor sitting in the right seat will talk about the horizon, they'll talk about the panel, they'll say, put your fist on the panel and measure the distance between the horizon and the nose. Or they say 4 fingers or an inch above the compass, or whatever the instructor sees, that's how they describe it. And often instructors will say exactly what they were taught, right? This is how I learned it, so this is how I'm going to say it. And obviously I can trim now, so it must have worked somehow. I'm going to suggest that there's a better way. So the student sitting in the left seat has a different perspective. The instructor has done their best to make sure their chair height is depending on the aircraft that they're in, their chair height is constant and they have a decent view at the front window. But instructors, you have to ask what the student is seeing. If it actually is one of their first times learning trim, then you have to set up normal cruise attitude and have it trimmed out perfectly and give the perfect demo like we have to in the very beginning, but then describe what you're looking at. And then please ask the student what they see using the same kind of verbiage, using the same kind of words. Well, I see that the horizon is 3 fingers, above the panel, or it's half an inch above the compass, or the ground comes up in the side windows this high or that high. Okay, ask the student what they see, because the purpose of getting the student to say it out loud is so they get accustomed to making the brain-eye connection between what they're looking at and bringing it back to normal. If you have students that play a lot of video games, and I don't mean iPad video games, I mean like have a controller, Xbox, Wii, PlayStation, whatever it is, then the hand-eye coordination is probably there. But in an airplane, they have to get accustomed to talking about what they see because this will affect many, many other lessons. So step number one, you're going to set up a normal cruise attitude. And then you're going to ask your students to describe what they see. And then your student can get into the habit, and then you know what they're looking at so that they can recreate this every time. Say, great, student, you've described what you see. Here's your exercise for the next 30 seconds. You're just going to use your arm. You're going to hold the control column. You're just going to make sure that picture stays like that for the next 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or however much they need, depending on how much skill they have to build or habit they have to break. Just hold it. That's it. If you notice a student using the bad habits of looking at the instruments, you must take a package of sticky notes, or my personal favorite is one of those suction cup dish, like soap dishes from the dollar store, and go whack, and you just put it on the instruments, you cover them all up. But the point is they have to hold normal cruise attitude by looking outside at the freaking horizon. If they're staring at the instruments, because of the amount of lag in the instruments, that's a whole nother video, they are going to not learn normal cruise attitude. They are going to not learn how to hold this airplane for straight and level flight. That's another video. So all the instruments are covered up. They're only looking at the horizon versus the panel, and they're matching that distance, and they're struggling with it. They're trying to keep it there, right? Then after they've proven to the instructor that they can hold normal cruise attitude for a couple of minutes and make the corrections, because everybody knows that straight and level flight is actually using all of the control surfaces all the time to hold it there. After they've proven they can do that, you can move on to step 2. This is backwards, I'm sorry, but instructor changes the power. So step number 2, the student is still holding normal cruise attitude. They're still keeping that visual picture. They're still not using the instruments, and the instructor is going to reach over and they're going to give it a little power or remove a little bit of power. And what this is going to do is, obviously, because of the lift trade-off, if you're removing one source of lift, you have to add another source of lift, which is angle of attack, and the student is going to have to struggle to keep the picture the same. Now, here's where a lot of instructors go wrong, is that they expect the new attitude of either a high cruise or a low cruise to be now kept. I don't need you to keep high cruise or low cruise, the brand new attitude. I need you to keep normal cruise attitude, because this is not an altitude holding exercise. This is a trimming exercise. So just keep that perfect distance between the horizon. You're not looking at any of your instrumentation. This is very important. But if you remove the power, obviously the nose is going to dip a little bit, and the student has to pull back to keep it up. If you add power, then the nose is going to want to rise, and the student has to push forward and just hold that perfect attitude. What this is now doing is strengthening the brain connection between their hand and their eyes. Okay, I have to keep that perfect picture. I have to struggle to keep it there. And they get the added benefit of understanding later on that trim is going to help that muscle power. So the pressure is there, and they're getting tired, so they have to struggle to keep it there. After they have proven to the instructor that they can hold that perfect attitude, if the instructor adds power, they have to push forward. If the instructor removes power, then they have to pull back. After they've proven with a couple of power changes that they can hold that perfect picture, then they get to move on to step 3. And step 3 is, you can't read it, but it says instructor slowly trims fully. And so with the power changes and the student is struggling, now it's time to show the student's brain that there is a connection between relieving pressure. Relieving pressure, please only use that word, relieving pressure. So the student is struggling to hold it there, gets the power changes, and the instructor is going to reach over and slowly trim, either fully nose down, or at least add a lot of pressure, or fully nose up, or at least add a lot of pressure. And so if you go from one extreme to the other, what the student now is going to verbally describe to their student, hey, student, I want you to tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you're feeling. This can happen in step 2. In fact, please do it in step 2. Tell me what you're feeling as I trim. So the student is holding a lot of back pressure, and the instructor trims, and the student goes, okay, well, it's getting lighter. It's getting lighter. Notice it's pressure words. It's getting lighter. It's getting lighter. Oh, now it feels like there's no pressure whatsoever. Oh, now it's getting heavier. It's getting heavier. It's getting heavier. Pressure words. And you can encourage your students to use those kind of words, because it makes the connection between pressure and trim in the brain a heck of a lot stronger. So they feel that it goes from one extreme to the next, but somewhere in the middle, there's a sweet spot. Okay. And now after they've proven, now this is important, after they've proven to the instructor that they can keep that normal cruise attitude, again, I don't give a shit about altitude, I don't give a shit about airspeed, holding normal cruise attitude in the practice area is important. So that they're just looking at the picture and you're making that brain connection with the picture of outside and the hand and the pressure and the hand-eye coordination, and slowly in baby steps, everything comes together. The last step is that now the student trims slowly. And here's the words you're going to use. This is really important. So as the student maintains like either a solid back pressure or a solid forward pressure, then they get to use the trim wheel. Do you have to go into a solid description with textbook pictures in the airplane about how the trim wheel works and how it's connected to the tail and how the airflow works? No, that happens on the ground long before this flight. So keep that out of it. Don't expect your student to know that if you move the trim wheel this way, which direction the tab goes, because it's not important right now. The only thing that's important is they start making their own mental connections between the pressure in this hand and the visual connection or the visual established out there of normal cruise attitude and trimming away the pressure. Okay, student, now you get, because you've proven for so long through all of these challenges, you've proven you can stare at the horizon versus the nose and hold your normal cruise attitude, you now get the privilege of using the poor man's autopilot. So what I want you to do is just eek that trim wheel down or up, whatever, you can direct them on the first one, and describe with your mouth, please, describe what's happening to the pressure in your hand. Do it that way. And if they start describing you using pressure words, then they can eventually find that sweet spot where they can let go, but they're still looking outside. Are they staring at the altimeter? No, it's covered. Are they staring at the airspeed? No, it's covered. They're looking at that distance between the nose and the horizon. Now, what you've done by taking this in baby steps and allowing them to go slowly through it is you've allowed them the process of understanding trim in a nose up attitude for climb, in a nose down attitude for, you know, a power on descent or a quicker descent, or anything that you want, even in a turn, because the 4-step process, even though it utilizes normal cruise attitude, that 4-step process can be used in the student's brain for any of the other situations that they need to trim for. So I hope that helps. I'm going to shut it down right now. Give me your comments on whether you liked it or whether you're not. I'm all for it, even the troll. So bring it on and go kick some ass. I hope this helps somebody. Bye.